Come on, Janitor. Every real Marine had a call sign. Corporal Tyler Reed leaned back from his radio console and looked across the operations room. What was yours? Several young Marines glanced up from their screens. Walter Hayes stopped beside his cleaning cart. The damaged front wheel gave its familiar squeak beneath the low hum of the fluorescent lights. Outside Camp Ridgeline, rain slashed across the narrow windows in hard silver lines. Somewhere beyond the western tree line, a training helicopter moved through low clouds, its rotor pulse fading beneath the storm. Walter was 78 years old. His shoulders had narrowed with age. White hair showed beneath his custodial cap. His gray work shirt carried no ribbons, no rank, and no unit crest. Only a stitched name patch over the pocket. Hayes. He rested both hands on the wooden mop handle. Tyler mistook the silence for embarrassment. Do not tell me you forgot it. A smile moved through the room. Maybe they called you Mop Bucket One. Two Marines laughed. Daniel Brooks did not. He sat at the secondary communications console with one side of his headset lifted, watching Walter's face. The old man did not look insulted. He looked tired in a way Tyler was too young to understand. Walter raised his eyes. Ghost 6. The answer was quiet, but it traveled farther than the joke. For half a second, the operations room held still. Then Tyler grinned. Ghost 6. He turned toward the others. That is what you were going with. Before Walter could move, static tore through the main radio. The laughter stopped. Captain Mason Blake crossed the room toward the central display. Four Marines from Recovery Team 3 had entered the Western Training Hills 2 hours earlier during a nighttime navigation exercise. They should have reached Checkpoint Falcon 14 minutes ago. They had not. Their individual trackers showed one position near the eastern ridge and another nearly 3 miles south. The icons jumped between both locations. Neither one matched the assigned route. Run the feed again, Blake ordered. Daniel refreshed the display. The red icon vanished, then reappeared inside a ravine too steep for normal foot movement. Tyler reached for the microphone. Recovery Team 3, Camp Ridgeline Operations. Confirm your position. Only static answered. Rain hammered the glass. Walter's gaze moved toward the speaker. Not the map. The speaker. A weak voice surfaced beneath the noise. Did someone say? The transmission broke apart. Every chair stopped moving. Daniel adjusted the audio gain. Recovery Team 3, repeat your last transmission. No answer came. Only wind. Running water. Static. Then 3 dry clicks. A pause. 3 more. Walter's fingers tightened around the mop handle. His face did not change, but something behind his eyes became completely still. Captain Blake looked toward him. Mr. Hayes, this is now an active emergency. Clear the command floor. Walter did not move. The clicks returned. 3. Pause. 3. He looked once at the digital map, then toward the rain-covered western windows. They are not where your system says they are. Tyler shook his head. You clean floors. You do not locate missing teams. Walter's voice remained low. No. Another sequence came through. 3 clicks. A pause. 2. A longer pause. 1. Walter looked at the speaker. But someone out there knows Ghost 6. No one laughed. Captain Blake turned toward him. What exactly are you hearing? A field status signal. Current Marine training does not use click codes. This one is older than your current training. Tyler folded his arms. Then it cannot be coming from our team. Walter looked at him. The radio does not care what year is printed in your manual. Blake stepped closer. The captain was 36, disciplined, and careful with authority. He had overseen dozens of training exercises. He had never watched 4 encrypted trackers place the same team on 2 different ridges. They have satellite navigation, emergency beacons, and encrypted radios, Blake said. Why would they use an obsolete signal? Because the newer systems are lying. That is an assumption. Walter looked at the jumping icons. No, it is reflected signal. Daniel turned in his chair. Walter pointed toward the western terrain. Whetstone is bouncing their transmissions through the ravine. Your software is solving the echo instead of the source. Tyler gave a short breath. And you learned that pushing a cleaning cart? Walter ignored him. The radio clicked again. 3, 2, 1. Then a broken voice pushed briefly through the noise. 6, west. The operations room went silent. Walter closed his eyes. For one breath, he was not standing beneath fluorescent lights. He was hearing monsoon rain strike torn canvas. A field radio pressed into wet earth. A young Marine calling through darkness. Ghost 6, do you copy? Walter opened his eyes. Captain Blake was watching him. Who taught them the code? Blake asked. Walter looked toward the western hills. Someone who believed they might need it when everything else failed. Blake studied him. Can you locate them? I can tell you where they are not. That is not enough. No. Walter stepped toward the map. But it is more than the trackers have given you. Tyler moved between Walter and the console. You are not authorized inside the command area. Walter stopped. He looked down at the polished floor Tyler's boots had crossed. Then back at the corporal. Neither is the storm. Tyler's face tightened. Daniel stood. Corporal, let him look. We are not handing an active rescue to a custodian because he recognized clicking. No one said to hand him command, Daniel replied. We said to listen. Captain Blake raised one hand. The argument ended. He looked at Walter. 30 seconds. Tell me what you see. Walter approached the display. He did not touch it. The screen showed modern contour lines, trail markers, beacon positions, storm warnings, and 2 red location estimates. Walter looked beneath all of it. The team entered from the North Trail? Yes. The storm arrived early? 23 minutes. They would have left the open saddle before the first lightning strike. Blake studied the route. The alternate trail turns east. On the current map, Daniel opened the installation engineering archive. Walter pointed toward the western ravine. There used to be a service drainage cut here. It was built before the upper road. Blake looked at him. That passage was sealed. The north entrance was sealed. The lower fork was left open for runoff. Daniel searched older infrastructure layers. A faded line appeared beneath the digital terrain overlay. It curved through the ravine exactly where Walter had pointed. Daniel leaned forward. Construction plan, 1983. Tyler's expression changed. Only slightly. But why would the team enter it? Walter listened to the radio. Because open ground had lightning on one side and rotor noise on the other. Stone looked safer. Another transmission surfaced. Wind. Water. A man breathing hard. Walter tilted his head. The echo is close. Blake asked, how close? They are inside rock. The captain looked between Walter and the map. You believe 4 Marines left their route, entered an abandoned drainage channel, lost their satellite position, and used a code no current course officially teaches. Walter met his eyes. Yes. Tyler started to speak. Blake stopped him. Corporal Reed, call the flight desk. Put Rescue 1 on standby. Tyler stared at him. You believe this? I believe we have 4 missing Marines, a verified passage our current map does not show, and a signal that Mr. Hayes understands. Tyler moved to the telephone. Walter stepped back. Captain, Blake looked at him. I remember the passage. Walter's eyes remained on the old map. But Stone does not owe an old man the courtesy of staying the same. It was the first uncertainty Walter had admitted. Blake trusted him more because of it. Another sequence came through. 3, 2, 1. Then 2 rapid taps. Walter stopped breathing for a moment. His gaze moved toward the lower shelf of his cleaning cart. Beside folded towels and a bottle of floor cleaner rested a small brass whistle. Beneath it lay a dark metal tag. Daniel noticed. What is that? Walter covered the tag with one hand. Tyler returned from the telephone and saw the movement. Before Walter could stop him, Tyler lifted the tag from the cart. The metal was stained and worn. One side carried faded stamped words. Ghost 6. Recovery element. Tyler looked at Walter. You carry your own call sign? Walter's face changed. Not much. Enough. Put it down. Tyler turned it over. 6 names had been etched into the back. Samuel Price. Michael Turner. James Keller. Thomas Wade. Andrew Collins. Walter Hayes. Thin lines crossed through the first 5 names. The deepest where Mark rested beside Andrew Collins. Tyler's grin disappeared. What happened to them? Walter reached forward and closed his hand around Tyler's wrist. The movement was fast. Controlled. He did not squeeze. He did not threaten. He only stopped the tag from moving. Those names are not part of your joke. Tyler set it down carefully. Walter released him. Daniel stared at the 5 marked names. Were they your team? Walter picked up the tag. They are my team. The wording stayed in the room. Captain Blake looked from the tag to Walter. Ghost 6 was a recovery element. Walter closed his hand around the metal. 6 Marines with a radio, and no expectation that anyone would remember us. What did you recover? People. From where? Walter looked toward the speaker. Wherever the map stopped helping. The radio clicked again. 3, 2, 1. Walter lifted his head. They are asking for direction. Blake looked at the microphone. Can you answer? Walter did not reach for it. His eyes stayed on the brass tag. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then Walter said, I can advise. Blake waited. You remain incident commander, Walter continued. Your pilot keeps final authority. If I tell you something the evidence does not support, you stop me. Blake nodded once. Agreed. He placed the microphone in Walter's hand. Walter did not transmit immediately. His thumb hovered above the switch. It trembled. Not because of age alone. Daniel saw it. So did Blake. Walter lowered the digital audio filter. Static flooded the room. Tyler winced. Daniel reached toward the console. Walter stopped him. Leave it. We will lose the voice. The voice is not all they are giving us. He adjusted the gain. Wind separated from the static. Water struck stone. A man breathed too close to the handset. Walter listened until the sounds became a place. Then he pressed the switch. Recovery Team 3, this is Ghost 6. No one moved. 5 seconds passed. Then 10. Tyler looked toward Blake. Daniel raised one hand for silence. At last, a weak voice emerged. Ghost 6, we copy. Walter's fingers tightened around the microphone. Report personnel. 4 Marines. 1 lower leg injury. Water rising. Trackers inconsistent. Can the injured Marines stand? With support. Describe the passage. Static rolled through the room. Low ceiling. Water moving left to right. 2 openings ahead. Walter looked at the old engineering plan. Do you feel wind from either opening? A pause. Faint air from the right. Walter pointed at the western fork. They reached the split. Blake studied the plans. The right branch is marked incomplete. The survey crew never reached the outer shelf. That does not make it safe. No, Walter keyed the radio. Face downstream. Keep the wall on your right. Move 20 yards. Stop if the water rises above your knees. The team leader answered. Our navigation units point left. Walter's expression hardened. Turn them off. Tyler looked at him. Blake asked, reason? The reflected signal is pulling them toward the lower branch. That branch drops into the runoff basin. Blake considered the evidence. Then he took the secondary microphone. Recovery Team 3, Camp Ridgeline concurs. Disable personal navigation displays. Maintain radio contact. One by one, the tracker icons vanished. The room lost its false certainty. Only the raw transmission remained. Walter watched the empty map. 3 clicks every 30 seconds, he said. 2 if the casualty worsens. 1 if you stop moving. Understood, Ghost 6. The first sequence came half a minute later. 3. Daniel marked an estimated position. The second sequence arrived weaker. 3. Walter frowned. Stop them. Blake keyed his microphone. Team 3, halt movement. A strained answer returned. Stop. Walter listened to the water. You turned into the first opening. Yes. That is not the passage. Back out. Water is rising behind us. Walter did not answer immediately. He looked at the old map, then at the radio. The drainage cut in his memory had been open. The sound now said otherwise. Tyler watched him. What is wrong? Walter's voice was barely audible. The stone moved. For one moment, he was no longer 78. Rain fell through triple canopy darkness. Walter was 27 again, kneeling beside a field transmitter beneath a torn poncho. His recovery element had entered a flooded valley searching for a missing patrol. 6 Marines. No aircraft support. No reliable map. Samuel Price carried the spare radio. Michael Turner could read terrain from the direction rain moved across leaves. James Keller carried more water than regulation required. Thomas Wade could make frightened men breathe without making them laugh. Andrew Collins counted 6 shadows every time the team moved. Walter carried the map. They found a young Lieutenant Robert Caldwell and 2 exhausted Marines near a flooded creek. Then the storm closed the eastern route. Headquarters ordered them to continue east. Walter heard water moving beneath stone and knew the route would trap them. He led the group west into a drainage cut. The passage narrowed. Mud and rock collapsed behind them. Samuel Price's transmission disappeared first. Then Michael Turner. Then Keller and Wade. Andrew Collins remained on the far side. Walter crawled back until Caldwell caught his web belt. You cannot reach them, the young lieutenant said. Walter fought him. They are still transmitting. 1 click came through the radio. 1. Unable to move. Walter reached toward the darkness. Caldwell held him while the drainage wall collapsed. The recovery element entered with 6 names. Only Ghost 6 came out. Walter had spent 51 years believing Andrew's last signal vanished unheard beneath stone and water. Now the same sound filled Camp Ridgeline. One click. Walter opened his eyes. His hand was shaking around the microphone. Blake stood beside him. "Mr. Hayes," Walter listened. Water. Breathing. A faint metallic vibration beneath both. Not thunder. Not interference. A hollow resonance. He pressed the switch. Strike the right wall with an entrenching tool. A dull impact came through the speaker. Then another. Again lower. The third strike returned with a deeper echo. Daniel leaned forward. "Hollow space." Walter nodded. "The original western passage is behind the collapse." Blake examined the plans. "Can they break through?" "Maybe not." Walter transmitted. "Feel along the base of the wall. You are looking for moving air, not an opening." Seconds passed. Then the team leader answered. "Cold air at ground level." Walter looked at Blake. "There is a crawl gap." "How stable?" "I cannot know from here." Blake took the microphone. "Team 3, send 1 uninjured Marine through on a safety line. No forced entry. If the ceiling shifts, withdraw immediately." The first Marine entered. Static swallowed 30 seconds. Then 3 clicks sounded. Clearer than before. Daniel marked the western branch. "He is through." The second Marine followed. Then the third. The injured Marine remained with the team leader. His breathing broke across the speaker. "We cannot get his leg through." Walter closed his eyes and visualized the gap. "Remove his pack. Turn him onto his injured side. He cannot bend the leg. Do not bend it. Keep the leg straight. Push the pack ahead. Pull from the shoulders, not the arms." Blake added, "Use the safety line only for balance. No sudden force." For several seconds, the radio carried breath, stone, and water. Walter's fingers pressed into the worn place beside Andrew Collins's name. Then 3 clicks sounded. All 4 were through. The operations room exhaled. Walter did not. "Describe the passage." "Ground rising. Air stronger. Faint light ahead. Move toward the air. Do not climb the left wall." The team advanced. A minute later, rain struck their microphone directly. "We are outside." Relief moved across the room. Tyler lowered his head. Daniel closed his eyes. Blake remained focused. Ground condition? Rock shelf. Trees below. No landing area. Blake contacted Rescue 1. The helicopter was already holding east of the ridge. The pilot reported severe gusts and limited visibility near the shelf. Walter looked at the live wind readings Daniel placed on screen. He did not pretend to know what he could not see. "The gusts are cycling around the ridge," he said. "But the pilot will know more on approach." Blake nodded. Rescue 1, proceed to visual assessment. Pilot authority remains final. Copy. The helicopter moved west. Its rotor pulse reached the operations room through the team radio. Walter listened, not as a pilot, as a man who had spent years hearing aircraft search for people hidden by weather. "Team 3, Blake ordered, secure loose equipment. Casualty moves first." The helicopter reached the ravine. Wind struck the aircraft. The rotor tone changed. Tyler gripped the console. The pilot held position, waited out the gust, then stabilized above the shelf. A rescue line descended. The injured Marine went first, then the second Marine, then the third. The team leader remained below. A warning tone sounded from the helicopter. The pilot reported another weather band approaching. "1 lift remaining," Blake said. Walter pressed the switch. "Team leader, hook in now." The answer came through heavy rain. "Equipment bag is unsecured. Leave it. It contains the team radio and trackers." Walter's eyes hardened. "Leave it." The Marine hesitated. Walter leaned toward the microphone. "Gear does not get a vote." His voice became sharper. "Come home." The team leader hooked into the line. The helicopter lifted him from the shelf as the next gust reached the ravine. The line swung once, then steadied. 30 seconds later, the pilot reported, "All 4 personnel aboard. Casualty stable. Returning to Camp Ridgeline." No one cheered immediately. The operations room simply breathed again. Walter placed the microphone on the console. His hand began to tremble. Not during the rescue. After it. Daniel looked toward him. Walter stepped back beside the cleaning cart. He adjusted a stack of towels that did not need adjusting. Tyler approached carefully. The brass tag rested in Walter's hand. "I should not have touched it," Tyler said. Walter looked at him. "No, I should not have called it a souvenir." No. Tyler waited for forgiveness. Walter did not give it cheaply. You thought a call sign was something a man used to make himself sound larger. Tyler lowered his eyes. Yes. A call sign is what people use when they need you to answer. The corporal nodded. I was wrong. Walter looked toward the western windows. Be useful now. Tyler straightened. Yes, sir. Captain Blake received an update from the flight desk. 6 minutes to touchdown. Daniel's secure terminal flashed. He had submitted Walter's full name and the designation Ghost 6 through the base duty channel. The reply contained no biography. Only one instruction. Keep Walter Hayes on site. Command authority en route. Daniel showed the message to Blake. Neither man told Walter. 20 minutes later, the rescue helicopter touched down at Camp Ridgeline. Medical personnel moved the injured Marine toward the clinic. The other 3 walked under their own power. Inside the operations room, no one returned to normal conversation. Walter stood beside the cleaning cart. Captain Blake watched him. You should sit down. Walter shook his head. I have been sitting in that drainage cut for 51 years. Blake understood enough not to ask another question. The operations room door opened. The base sergeant major entered first. 2 senior officers followed. Lieutenant General Robert Caldwell stepped through last. Rain darkened the shoulders of his uniform. He had not waited for an umbrella. The room came to attention. Walter did not. He stood beside the cleaning cart, holding the tarnished tag. Caldwell found him immediately. For several seconds, the general did not speak. Walter saw the young lieutenant beneath the older face. The same eyes. The same slight tilt of the head when listening for an answer he feared. Caldwell stopped 4 feet away. His gaze fell to the brass tag. Samuel Price, he said. Walter's fingers tightened. Michael Turner. The general continued. James Keller. Thomas Wade. Andrew Collins. He looked at Walter. And Walter Hayes. Tyler stared. No one in the room moved. Caldwell removed his cap. I have heard those names every night there is heavy rain. Walter's voice was rough. You made it home, Lieutenant. Because you took us west. That was the job. Caldwell shook his head. The job ended when we cleared the valley. Walter looked toward the returning helicopter. No. His voice fell almost to a whisper. The job ends when everyone is home. The door opened again. The 4 recovered Marines entered with medical personnel. The injured Marine remained on a stretcher. The team leader walked beside him, soaked and exhausted. When he saw Walter, he stopped. You are Ghost 6. Walter looked at him. Who taught you the code? Master Gunnery Sergeant Ellis. Caldwell recognized the name. The team leader continued. He said if the trackers failed, if voice communication broke, and if nobody answered, we should use the old recovery signal. Captain Blake asked, what exactly did he tell you? The Marine looked at Walter. He said, call Ghost 6. Someone will remember. The room became completely still. Walter looked down at the brass tag. For 51 years, he had believed Andrew Collins's final signal disappeared beneath stone. Unanswered. Unheard. Now the same code had crossed 5 decades and brought 4 Marines out of another drainage cut. Someone had remembered. More than that. His men had answered. Caldwell stepped closer. I taught Ellis that signal. Walter raised his eyes. The general's voice tightened. I taught it to every recovery instructor who served under me. Walter said nothing. I told them the code came from 5 Marines who did not make it out, and 1 who refused to stop listening. Caldwell brought his heels together. His right hand rose in a slow, precise salute. The base sergeant major followed. Captain Blake raised his hand. Daniel. The recovered team. Marine after Marine came to attention. Tyler was last. His eyes were wet, but his posture was exact. Caldwell held the salute. Ghost 6, your men answered tonight. Walter's face remained still. Only his lower lip moved. The general continued. And you brought them home again. Walter's hand began to rise. It trembled halfway. Caldwell did not lower his salute. Walter closed his fingers around the tag. His wrist steadied. He completed the motion. For one long moment, the old custodian and the lieutenant general stood facing each other beneath the cold lights. No speech followed. None was needed. When the room lowered its hands, Caldwell turned toward Captain Blake. The after-action report will record that Walter Hayes identified the drainage route and restored communication with the missing team. Walter shook his head. No, the room waited. Caldwell looked at him. Walter opened his palm. The 6 names faced upward. Record these 5 first. They were not physically here tonight. Caldwell said. They were in every signal I used. Caldwell looked down at Samuel Price, Michael Turner, James Keller, Thomas Wade, Andrew Collins, then back at Walter. The 5 names first, the general said. He turned toward the base sergeant major. Add the Ghost 6 manual distress sequence to the installation's emergency communications training. It will supplement current procedure, not replace it. Yes, sir. Walter gave a small nod. That is right. Caldwell almost smiled. I had a good teacher. Tyler stepped forward. Mr. Hayes, Walter waited. I made your work smaller so I could feel larger. The words cost him something. I am sorry. Walter studied him. You are a Marine? Yes, sir. Then become better than the man who walked into this room tonight. Tyler straightened. Yes, sir. Walter reached for his cleaning cart. The front wheel squeaked. Tyler looked down at it. How long has it done that? 7 months. No one fixed it. Walter glanced across the operations room. No one listened. Tyler took the cart handle. I will. Walter allowed him to push it toward the maintenance hallway. Caldwell walked beside them. Why did you take this job? The general asked. Walter looked through the glass toward the rain. My wife died 4 years ago. Caldwell said nothing. The house became too quiet. Walter looked back at the radio room. Static is easier. The general's expression tightened. You could have called me. Walter looked at him. You were busy bringing people home. They reached the hallway. Behind them, Daniel began writing names on the after-action board. Samuel Price, Michael Turner, James Keller, Thomas Wade, Andrew Collins. Below those names, he wrote. Ghost 6 answered. Walter stopped. The recovered team leader stood beneath the board. He raised his hand once more. Walter returned the gesture. Then he walked down the hallway beside Tyler and the squeaking cart. The formal investigation confirmed that reflected signals inside the ravine had displaced the trackers by more than 2 miles. The abandoned western drainage cut was added to the emergency terrain database. The 4 Marines returned to duty after recovery. Walter Hayes refused every interview request. He accepted no individual plaque. Instead, 1 small bronze plate appeared inside the Camp Ridgeline communications classroom. It carried 6 names. Below them was a single sentence. When every system fails, listen for the human signal. Walter continued working Thursday nights. Most Marines knew who he was now. He did not encourage them to stare. He emptied trash bins. He cleaned mud from the operations floor. He corrected anyone who stepped over a cable without checking where it led. Tyler replaced the damaged wheel on the cleaning cart. The new wheel moved without a sound. Walter disliked it for several days. Then he admitted the cart rolled better. On the first night of the next storm exercise, Tyler checked every radio twice. Before the field team departed, he placed 3 fingers against the transmitter switch. 3 clicks. Walter heard the signal from the far side of the room. He looked up. Tyler did not smile. Neither did Walter. The old Marine simply nodded and went back to work. Some call signs identify a man. Others become a promise that somewhere in the darkness, someone will answer.